Hi, I'm Steph Long. I'm an ES&P major with a focus in conservation biology, and I'm a 2019 graduate. I've been in the MacLeish Lab for the past year, and I'm originally from Michigan and headed up to Vermont next year. So the Eastern Hemlock Algid is an invasive species that started lower on the east coast in the United States, and since about the 80s has been making its way up the coast. And what it does, it's an insect and it sticks its stylet into the base of a needle on an Eastern Hemlock, and then it can suck out sap to get nutrients, and so it will lead to needle discoloration and loss of needles, and then eventually death of the tree. And so as it's been moving over and really taking over Eastern Hemlocks, which are an important foundation species in their ecosystems on the east coast in the US, there isn't really a way yet that's been found to kind of mitigate this. It's just watching kind of as it happens. So the hope with monitoring would be to just see how far it has spread, or if it's continuing to spread, or keep an eye on it while there's still not a cure per se. So my project is looking at using drones that are mounted with a camera that can collect visual and near infrared light, and using that imagery to try to assess hemlock health. And then we do a little bit of sampling on the ground to do kind of a ground truthing to see if our model is accurate. So then we go out there and see the canopy level and see if there's infestation of the hemlock algid, and then compare that with what we get from the drone imagery. And the drone imagery will be converted into a normalized difference vegetation index layer in ArcGIS, and that will tell us, based on the different levels of reflectance that come from different amounts of healthiness of the trees, it would be able to tell us kind of how healthy they are, and we'd be able to hopefully use that as a way to monitor it long term as the trees are possibly becoming more infested with this invasive species. So when we were doing the test, we were basically over on the athletic fields, and so the point of that was to see if the camera worked and to make sure we could get it to work before we go up and do the mapping missions at MacLeish. So we mounted the new Mapier camera on and then turned it on, and it takes photos at an interval, so it's taking it every half second. It will take a photo and get a JPEG imagery, and it will also get a photo in the RAW format. And so then we just created a little test area, so we turned on the camera and then sent it up, and then through the Drone Deploy app it will just follow the path that we've created and then come back home, and then we're able to then take that the SD card from that camera and put it into the computer later to use ArcMap to create the NDVI and make sure that all works before we go out into the field to use it. So I would say with our project, it's kind of a preliminary, can we create the model, does the model work? And so moving forward, I think we have the area that we can map, and we've picked out the area that we will use for the ground truthing. So I think going out there and collecting data and keeping an eye on it from the ground to compare that with what you're getting from the drones. And then from the drone imagery, the camera is good and is working, but we're having a little bit of trouble with stitching things together. So I think looking into using ground control points within the forest, and maybe that also depends on time of year that you want to go out there and do it. Maybe it's easier to do it if there's even less leafing than there is now. So just the specifics of it to make it more accurate, yeah, and just kind of make it more polished, and then be able to use that as something just to continue using over time as a way of monitoring. So I'm headed up to Vermont starting in the fall for a one-year stint with the Vermont Land Trust. I'll be a planning and assessment assistant with them. And then moving forward from that, I'm hoping to just continue working in land conservation in some way, whether it's through a contact through them, or trying to spend a few years out and then going back to school to get a master's degree, still kind of figuring out what that's in. But I'm really interested in doing things, especially I think doing this work with drones and remote sensing, and using that as a way to monitor forests and using that as a way to make impactful management decisions. But doing the research and then also being able to apply that to what's happening on the ground, I would be just really interested in getting involved in the field in some capacity, doing that kind of work.